Good afternoon. Happy Monday. So today I took two trades, one win, one loss, just small scalp sort of trades. Realistically shouldn't have taken a second one, but we'll dive into my thought process and whatnot. So going into the day, we were sort of down here. We had this 1 hour fair value gap. We were coming up into 4 hour bearish fair value gap here, but zooming out a little bit. So last week we had that low resistance liquidity run to the downside, big SMT. Once we took out that objective, we also have like a huge daily fair value gap here, which I just haven't had drawn out. I'm actually kind of curious what we tapped there. Came down to the 75% of that fair value gap, whatever. So regardless, we had SMT, and I wasn't really necessarily bullish, but I just kind of wanted to see what structure would do, and we just ripped to the upside. So after this, I was expecting this would be your breaker, and we would sort of consolidate in here before coming back up to the highs. We still could very well be bullish. Bearish, sorry. But looking at ES, after having this SMT here, and then just ripping up, we have this draw. It almost seems more realistic for ES to come take this draw, this buy side level, just because we are pretty close to it now, and we have this inverse 4 hour here. I don't know. I guess we can go either way. You do have all this low resistance liquidity here that I expect ES to one day come down to, but it almost seems like we want to take this high first. But regardless, so going into the day, wasn't really looking for anything specific, but we came up to this high and this 4 hour fair value gap here, and I'm just zooming in a bit. So this is sort of the beginning of the day. We had this big 5 minute fair value gap. I took a short, and the reason why I took this short is we had this big 5 minute, right? This super clean looking 5 minute fair value gap. Nothing really on the 15 minute. And there was pretty much nothing else there, right? So looking at the 5, I don't expect price to bounce anywhere within these two candles. I would expect us to come down to the 5, and then looking at the 1, there's nothing here, right? So we're just kind of chopping in the morning. 9:30 we had a big push into the 4 hour fair value gap, and keep in mind too, we did take out plenty of highs that led up to this 4 hour fair value gap there. This high, all of these. So I definitely wasn't bullish right here. If anything, I'd be bullish in this 5 minute fair value gap, but basically I expected from this choppy price action, and then sort of right the time as well, coming up right into the 950 to 1010 macro. You see 950 is here, and then 1010 is there. So this is that macro, right? We rebalanced into the 5 minute, pretty much held it almost to the tick, and then just completely inversed the move that we just made to the downside, right? So, and then I guess the better play would probably be to try to look for a long in here. But basically, we had this 1 minute bullish fair value gap. We formed an SMT at the highs here. Where was this? So it was all of these highs. So we had we had this high put in here. ES didn't take that high, and then we had another one. So I don't know if you would consider that two separate SMTs, because NQ took out both of those highs. ES didn't take out either of them. So I just marked it out as one. And pretty much this is, like, in my opinion, was like the last line of defense right here for long positions in that 1 minute fair value gap, and we just ripped right through it, made our own little 1 minute bearish fair value gap. So right when we just wicked it, I just went short, stopped right above the 1 minute, and I was targeting this low, which was also just above consequent encroachment of the 5 minute, just because it just seemed like, to me, this looks clean. I've taken some trades like this before where I short, or long looking to rebalance. I don't think it's an A+ setup by any means, but I have some conviction with them, and just because it seems obvious, like, why would we support price in here and just keep having a really steep uptrend like this? It just doesn't make any sense. Obviously we could, but why would we, right? The market had just opened, looking at this massive move to the upside in the overnight. Like, imagine how many people are just buying the open, just buy, and they're getting rewarded for it, right? They're all just buying. It just makes sense to at least pull back. And looking at the 5 again, that fair value gap was just clean. You would expect us to pull back to it. So took a short, pretty good. Just kind of went straight to take profit, and then closed my phone and came back a few hours later, or not a few hours, but about an hour or so. And this trade was pretty poor. I just I didn't see any clear manipulation here at the highs, and we had all of these stacked highs here. So once we came in to the top of this 4-hour breaker right here, this candle, definitely way too, like, to go from a 4-hour time frame to a 1 minute time frame is just, like, way too insane of a jump to, for it to be, like, valid. But we had fair value gaps in here, right? Still had this 5 minute fair value gap here, tapped consequent encroachment of that again, and looking at the fib, it was we were holding on to OTE this range, and I just was a little too zoomed in here, classic. Sort of tapped in, bounced up. We had let me just delete this. We had this 1 minute fair value gap here, which I waited for us to respect. Once we respected that, then we had this order block here, right, this down close candle, and then basically right as we were breaking, like about to break above this high, I was like, alright, this is going to become the breaker on the 1 minute. But I don't know, now that I'm looking at it a bit more, you would really expect, like, a breaker to be like you put a low in and then, like, take liquidity from that, right? And then this would be your breaker, like whatever the candle is there, because you swept some form of sell side liquidity, and like technically I guess if you zoomed into like a 15-second, you did form a low, bounce, and then take it. It just really wasn't like a clean breaker, and yeah, it just was a little zoomed in here, just kind of playing off nothing really. And the one good thing I did, I liked, how I put my stop. I think the way my ideology was like, all right, this is the order block, mean threshold of the order block. I put my stop just below it. I think it just makes sense there. And clearly, like, I wanted price to hold right there. We had some fair value gaps in here as well, like this 30-second here, which we originally tapped into and bounced from. So, no reason to put my stop below this low or something. We should hold this area and keep going if it's, the true buy side of the curve. But yeah, just too zoomed in here. Pretty classic mistake that I make a lot. So regardless, so I'm thinking later on in the day, this is going to become like buy side of the curve here. We also had a big 1 hour fair value gap, which was like pretty much here. Like we basically just formed this 4 hour, but I was thinking this was going to be like buy side of the curve, and I was even looking like to possibly take longs in here, but we inversed this 5 minute fair value gap, and then I guess sort of like held this 5 minute here. That's your market structure shift. You're going up. What I wanted to see though, this is like way too small of a 5 minute. I wanted to see some displacement, and then pull back. We had like a little SMT here with ES, and then we just dumped, and we formed this really clean like low resistance liquidity run, which I did not take, but we had SMT, and then we pull back to OTE of this range. You have a 1 minute OTE fair value gap right there, and you also have this big 5 minute fair value gap here as well. I don't think there was like really the greatest internal model here, so we basically just sort of chopped around, and I think this is where you would want to be playing off the inverses, right? Like you have this inverse right here. You have another inverse right here, so you're clearly like not respecting the bullish imbalances. But the main thing to note is just how clean the low resistance liquidity is. Right here's your target, and exactly at 350 we just ripped to the downside. So I just thought that was interesting to note exactly like what time this happened. Like even zooming in, like the first second of 350 was just a massive push to the downside. So thought that was interesting. Just looking at how the macros work, and then yeah, so we just had a clean push to the downside to end the day. So yeah, nothing really crazy. Just small little winning day. I'm officially back to green on the month after my start of the month shenanigans, where I was taking some big losses. I had a pretty decent losing week, at least for me, the first week. So you know, just got to, like I always say in every video, man, just got to stay disciplined and try to keep things tight and small losers and, wait for some good setups. But in terms of what I'm looking for tomorrow, it's really all going to depend on what I see in the overnight, just because, we're kind of just in between two different PD arrays, right? So we rejected this 4-hour. We're sitting in this 4-hour. Technically, like, this is still your breaker. We're still, like, holding that. So I don't really, like, if we start going down into, like, OTE, this range, I feel like I would be more bearish. Just because nothing's really clean here. It was just kind of a straight rip to the upside. But again, like, there's no real clean fair value gaps here or anything. But again, I'd have to wait for some higher time frame structure. But we'll see. Maybe we hold on to this breaker, right? And we took out this low. Maybe we see some sort of buy side of the curve here, where we have our market structure shift here, and then, like, have some sort of internal model to go back up to these highs here, because I do think ES wants to go higher. And so, if ES wants to go take out that draw, NQ is going to follow to an extent. So, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens in the overnight. We got a lot of time. I also don't think there's news tomorrow either, so it might be a slow day tomorrow. So we'll have to see. But yeah, nothing crazy today. So hopefully you made some money, or you stayed disciplined and followed your plan. Maybe you didn't trade today. That's always good, not to trade on a no news Monday, after we just took the external draw last week. Realistically, it was probably better off to just not trade today at all. But yeah, let's see what we got on the daily chart. So I did have this, like, daily volume imbalance marked out too, and I guess we did technically, like, respect it. But yeah, we'll see. The daily chart is just disgusting. So like, absolutely disgusting, honestly. I have this huge, like, weird imbalance here. Like, this whole area right here is pretty disgusting too. This whole, like, volume imbalance here that sort of always got whipped off of. So we'll see. Maybe we want to form sell side of the curve and come take out this low. But gonna have to let time do its thing and sort of see what happens in this area here. So with that, have a good night. Peace out.